Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock on a Thursday, first Thursday of the month, and 2 days in a row, we're back with another edition of Pickup Lines presented by Gamez Law Firm. And as you know, Gamez Law fights. I'm not much of a fighter, and I've never been confused with a heavyweight boxer. I've got the heavyweight part down. But at any rate, we're really excited to have you on here. Thank you to the Gamez family once again. 50 years of practicing law. You do anything for 50 years? That's pretty commendable, but they've been huge supporters of mine, and I appreciate it. Please take a moment to notice the other sponsors that are on the Facebook post here. Mia's Mexican Grill, Rudy's Flooring and Remodeling, Generations Federal Credit Union, the Nonprofit Council, Absolute Power Electrical Contractors, and my friend at Image Avenue Clothiers, Phil Zavala, who soon I hope will get me a shirt so I can, kind of exchange some of these out here. But at any rate, really happy to have our guest, and let's bring him in right now. And I locked the door. I didn't unlock the door again.
You had one job, Ernie.
Now I'm going to get a citation. Ladies and gentlemen, I locked the sheriff out of my own car, but he's here. Are you good?
I am. I'm here.
Welcome in. Welcome in. I hope this is when I can get a nice car sponsor and get a bigger vehicle, we'll upgrade and have more room for you.
Oh, absolutely. This is pretty nice.
Room for the hat and everything. You just finished like a lunch.
I did.
And I would imagine part of being sheriff is you have a lot of lunches and a lot of meetings and a lot of social events.
Yeah. So today's was a good one, though. We met with Whataburger because we're starting up our sheriff's coffee breaks. We were doing those with
nice.
Whataburger for a while. They had a lot going on because the structure of the company changed, and so we just met with them a little bit ago to start kicking off the sheriff's coffee breaks. It's a good partnership between the sheriff's office and Whataburger. Two Texas icons, right? The Texas Sheriff and the Texas burger chain. And so we're going to be out there doing some stuff at a Whataburger near you.
Okay, so as the name would imply, you're just going to have coffee and just be accessible.
Yeah, and what we do with those is we actually will go to areas, like if we know there's a certain type of crime happening in a certain area, like car burglaries, then we'll find the Whataburger that's close to that area, we'll invite the public, and then we'll do crime prevention type tips to start trying to address the certain crime that's inherent to there, right? Or if we know that there's an area where there's a lot of retired folks, well, we know the retired folks are a big target for cyber criminals and scams, so we'll do some awareness around cyber crimes and scams. Burger King, my gosh, I'm sorry. Whataburger has always been a great partner with this kind of stuff, and so why not? Let's do it.
I love it. Well, listen, I was just telling you a little while ago, there are so many issues and topics that come across your desk, and maybe we can get to that later on. But I'm really fascinated I was in the media long enough to remember you when you had an SAPD uniform on.
Yeah.
And I was reading about how that time when you were the PIO, the Public Information Officer, you were talking to the media on the news all the time. Yeah. And was it 2017 when you became sheriff around that time? Did I read that you weren't convinced that you really wanted to be sheriff at the time? You had to be convinced.
I mean, the initial idea came from my wife. And, I thought about it. I thought, well, you know what? I think I could do this. And ran it past some family members, ran it past some people in the community. And there seemed to be a response there. And so, we went for it and did it.
Yeah. And what are we, 6 years now? And I know you're running for re-election next year, but has it like this, or does it some days feel like it's forever?
It has, in some respects, it has flown by. We're in year number 6. We're about to enter year number 7. I'm going to be making the run for the 3rd term.
Yeah.
It's already started, right? We've already started.
Sure.
And we haven't broken stride, though. I haven't really slowed down. And so people say, oh my gosh, are you ready to start gearing up and campaigning? I don't. To me, campaigning looks a lot like just doing the job.
Yeah.
So I haven't broken stride. I'm still out doing all kinds of things. This morning started the day with a spirit run with a cadet class that's graduating tomorrow. We went out and ran a mile or two in the King William area, ran in formation with them. It's something that I could do. And
already,
I'll tell you what, man, try not to run with a bunch of 18-year-olds if you can avoid it.
And I've got one at home. I know. Yeah. Do you wake up at a certain, are you structured, like every morning your alarm goes off at?
6 a.m.
Okay.
My wife's a teacher. It's her alarm. No. And so by default, I'm up, right? I'm up making coffee, letting the dogs out, feeding the horses, doing all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, I am out running around. I mean, look, I tell people this all the time, and it's true. if I'm awake, I'm working. And I'm kind of an insomniac. So I'm one of those people that if you wake up at 2 a.m, I'm up. That's it.
Go back to
I'm
bed.
just up and I'm sending emails and doing whatever I need to do. So people get their money's worth out of me. I can tell you that right now.
Do you require a lot of sleep?
I don't. I'm lucky to get 5 hours on any given night, but I'm fine. I'm good on 5 hours of sleep. I'm good on less than that.
Yeah.
I got less than that this morning. When
man.
I was out hitting the pavement, running with the kiddos. Just having a good time. I'm enjoying myself.
Well, listen, I was joking with you, and just in the last month you were on 60 Minutes. Today you're on my show. I mean, it's
same level.
I mean, I get it. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. It makes my ego feel really good. You're talking about running for re-election, and I had to look it up because it's one of those weird, quirky questions that came up in my head. Police Chief McManus does not run for re-election. He's appointed. You run for re-election.
Absolutely.
Why do sheriffs have to run? And I mean, would you prefer to not have to worry about that?
Oh, I mean, why wouldn't I want a job for as long as I want it, right? But with that being said, I know, right, here's the plus for my bosses, the 2.2 million, because I actually don't have a boss, right? A lot of people think, well, the county judge, the commissioner's court, they actually are not my boss. They oversee my budget.
Yes.
And so I've got to do what they ask, but at the end of the day, they're asking me. They're not my boss. My bosses are the 2.2 million Bexar County residents. And I know that if I don't continue to raise the bar for myself and perform as expected, then I'm done. I'm out of here. You know?
I was just reading again, kind of researching on that people, some argue that it's good. I think there's only like 3 or 4 states that don't require their sheriffs to run for election, but that it gives more accountability.
Absolutely it does. Absolutely
holds you more accountable.
Sure. Yeah. And you know, and I've had cadets ask me, you know, why is it that you're on TV all the time, Sheriff? Why is it that you just love seeing yourself on TV? And I said, well, look, what if this? And I told the cadets, I said, what if I were to tell you as cadets, every 4 years I'm going to fire you unless you prove to me that you're worthy. I said, every chance you get, you're going to come tell me how good of a job you're doing, right? I'm not going to have to find you. You're going to come find me and tell me how good of a job you're doing, right? So that you don't get fired at the 4-year mark. They said, well, yeah. I said, okay, the news is how I talk to my bosses and tell them, look at the job that we're doing here. So absolutely. Then they went, oh, okay, so that's how you talk to your boss. Yes. That's
you put it that way.
Absolutely.
No, well, because I can understand where I mean, you do seem to be on TV a lot, but and I understand what you're saying because I was in that media, obviously. But I think when you explain it that way, it makes a lot more sense. And so, just going back to, you grew up in was it Universal City? You went to Clemens High School?
I did, yes, sir.
So you're a Buffalo.
I'm a Buffalo. Once a Buff, always a Buff, by the way.
I was going to ask if you were the most famous Clemens graduate. I mean, Frank Harris, I know, went to.
Frank Harris did, yes.
But are there famous Clemens alumni out there?
Yeah, I think we had a professional baseball player years ago, Corbett, that played, and then Corbett's named after his dad, Ray Corbett. And then there was a professional basketball player as well that went there, and so. But yes, as recently, I guess it's myself and Frank, and then there's a famous soap opera actor, and his name escapes me right now.
Okay.
But yes, there's a couple.
We'll see on the Mount Rushmore of Clemens alumni. So we'll see if Javier Salazar makes the cut.
Absolutely. Get the nose right.
Well, I had read. You're right. I had read that it could have been if your trajectory had gone another way, you could have been sitting here doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll get to you are doing a podcast. We'll talk about it. My point is, your father dabbled in front of the camera, and at one point you wanted to do that.
My dad was in the news media when I was growing up. He was a DJ at KDA radio, and then when I was in middle school, high school, he had a TV show. And he taught me from the time I was 5 years old. I was doing radio promos. I was doing voiceover work. When I was in junior high school, and he had his TV show, I was learning to be an on-air personality. And I thought I was going to go follow in his footsteps. And then went to SAC. I studied RTF. Yeah. I was going to become a broadcaster.
Radio, television, film.
I was going to become a broadcaster. And then, hey, police work. Look at that. And I went. And my dad was heartbroken. He didn't tell me this because he didn't want to, dash my hopes and dreams. He's like, I was heartbroken because you weren't going to follow in my footsteps and be what I was. And then years into my stint at the police department, I call it a stint. It was 24 years.
20,
right?
yeah, I was gonna say, like about a quarter century almost.
It's years into my career at the PD, I said, well, there's a job here that does what I know how to do as a PIO, and so that's what I did. And I went and I worked toward it, and I became the public information officer for the police department.
So you ultimately ended up on TV. Now, did your dad? Is he still around?
He is.
So
he's still in the he's still in the media. He still works. Now he's a DJ at KLMO on Saturday mornings. He's got a morning.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
and I've probably seen him and didn't realize he was your dad.
Absolutely. You've seen him around. I'm sure.
Well, my prima April Monterosa does.
Okay, so she has the show right before him. Oh. April's coming off as my dad's coming on the air.
It's a small world, man.
It is.
It's a small world.
It is. Yeah.
But so it was that simple where you were TV, and then you're like, oh, police work, and you just went for it.
And then you end up coming full circle and coming right back. And
you wanted to be like an actor, though, right?
I did.
You wanted
to
be
like
an
actor,
and leading man.
And I've still done a little acting, believe it or not. Since then, when my time at the PD, I did some commercials. I did like an educational video for the Edwards Aquifer Authority at one point, playing a role in that. It was actually an acting gig. Obviously, since I've been sheriff, I'm a little busy these days. I don't get the time to do that. But sure, it's a passion of mine that still hasn't left. I'm an old school theater kid from back in the day.
Fine arts,
absolutely.
I mean, hey, listen, we turned out okay.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, well, don't. Some would argue maybe not.
Exactly.
But so, I hinted at a podcast. You quite literally, was it yesterday or today, or debuting, and my friend Yami Virgen, who may see this at some point, from my old stomping grounds, you guys, Yami's another story. I don't know how the heck, she's another one. I don't know how she does what she does, but that's another, I need to get her in the chair, but the podcast, tell me about that.
So she came to us with the idea of doing a joint podcast. And look, you don't really see law enforcement and the media team up on too much stuff, but Yami's a good friend. She would absolutely come after me if she needed to, right? She'd do her job.
She would.
So don't feel like she's ever going to pull any punches on me as a reporter. I just don't want to get on the fighting side of Yami for sure. But she came to me with this idea, let's do a true crimes podcast. We think that it would do well. It would educate the community. I think that they want to hear about some of the cases the sheriff's office is working. Because look, some of our cold cases go back a couple decades.
Yeah.
And it's interesting stuff at the end of the day. And we're not celebrating the criminal. We're not mocking the victim. We're not blaming the victim. We're just saying, hey, look, here's what happened in this case. Here's what we think went wrong, what got to that point where somebody was losing their life, and then here's what we can learn from it moving forward. And we've gotten a good response from it.
I started a podcast not too long ago with Cleto Rodriguez, Cleto, and Mike Taylor. But the point is there's a million podcasts out there, but they can be very effective when you have a good platform and maybe solve a cold case or get a lead or something like that.
And that's the ultimate goal, is maybe we get some calls in on some cold cases and people give us, just the missing puzzle piece that, boom, that fits right there, and we're able to crack it open. Obviously, that's a long shot, but it's something that we're hoping for. And we will be talking about some of the cold cases that we've had here over the years, here in Bexar County.
Yeah. And there's so many other tragic stories and stuff that I helped cover over the years.
Well,
but
like right now we're talking about the Bill Hall case, the murder case of Bill Hall.
And
at the root of that case it was a domestic violence case, is what it was. There was a long history of domestic violence in that family, and Bill, it seems, was the victim, and then obviously the case culminated where he lost his life.
Yes.
But we used that to illustrate the point that if you are a domestic violence victim, domestic violence just doesn't cure itself.
Right.
It's going to escalate, and it will end with the death of that victim if they don't do something to get themselves out and break that cycle. And so we use it as a teachable moment to say, look, this is a domestic violence thing, and here's how a lot of these will end up. Yeah.
So those are some of the more serious, just terrible cases. But I would imagine over the years, 6 years or plus, 7 years into being sheriff, craziest, most out of left field, funny, unexpected scene you came upon or call you got, or something like we just can't make this up. Like, what's the craziest thing?
I mean, I have seen, there's a crazy phenomenon that I've seen developing, and it's happening with more and more frequency, that at the moment, during a pursuit or at the moment of an arrest, and it's happened twice this past week, with co-defendants on a murder cases, in fact, they're on Facebook Live or on Instagram Live filming the pursuit as they're being pursued, or they know the SWAT team is busting through the door, so they turn on Facebook Live real quick because they want the viewers to see what it is that they're doing. I don't get it. It's a dangerous game that they're playing. But again, I think that sort of thing is going to pick up as the knuckleheads that are out there seeing it go, wow, but his likes went, he went to jail, but his likes went through the roof. Why not?
Can't monitor your Facebook page in prison or in
Absolutely.
jail. Was there somebody, did I read that dared you to catch them?
That was this kid. That was the same kid.
On social media?
Yeah, he sent somebody an instant message with a picture of himself with holding 4 guns, right?
Oh.
If you can picture. So I'm holding 1 gun. He's holding 4 guns pointing at the camera. And it says, tell the gang unit to come catch me. So they did. That's who came busting through his door. Challenge accepted. But this kid is accused of murdering somebody in a drive-by shooting last year. And he was able to get out of jail probably because of his age, but he came out and he was mugging for the cameras, man. When we brought him out, and he just says, I'll be out on bond again, and just mocking us, mocking the justice system and whatnot. And again, I hope this young man spends a great deal of his life in prison. I hate to say that, I hate to wish that on anybody, but the victim that they murdered, she and her family deserve that justice.
Unbelievable stuff. And I used to say on the news, it just doesn't end well. Like, I mean, you try those things and you try to get clicks or whatever, and it's just, law enforcement has a way of finding you.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. And,
I know you can't give out all your secrets,
Yeah.
but you have children or daughters, right?
Yes.
And they're a little older and they're not teeny tiny little girls anymore. But I just wonder, over the years in your law enforcement career, how aware you've been of your safety, their safety, just in light of the hazards that come along with your line of work.
I mean, look, they have certainly had to deal with dad being ultra paranoid, when it comes to things, and grilling the boyfriend coming over to the house for the first time.
Can you imagine wanting to date one of your daughters coming up to your house?
Interestingly enough, the boyfriend that my younger daughter still has to this day laughs because he came to the house one time to pick her up for a date, and one of my deputies was out front in a patrol car, and the deputy was joking, he knew this, but he pulls him out of the car and puts him up against his car and pats him down, and who are you? Give me some ID. And he's messing with the kid, but the kid was terrified. And so to this day, this guy, for all I know, that kid's going to be my son-in-law one of these days, but he laughs about it.
I cannot imagine.
No, that's not something that normally happens to people, but they did it with this kid.
Well, yeah, but that's true. I'm just trying to envision now, like, asking one of your daughters out on a date. I want to meet my dad. Who's your dad? Oh yeah, he's the sheriff. So moving forward, again, re-election. What are some things? I mentioned things that are on your desk right now, but other things, big picture, small picture, things that you would like to accomplish that are on your checklist.
Well, I'll tell you what, people ask me, well, what's my platform moving forward? Really, basically just continue doing more of the same, because it's people have responded well to it. We're doing a lot with regard to public education right now. We're doing fentanyl classes, fentanyl awareness classes. I teach them myself to parents, because I recently went to a sheriff's conference in DC, and I sat through a presentation by the DEA, and I was blown away by how little I know about fentanyl to that point. 30-year cop, I just hit my 30-year anniversary. Didn't know nearly a lot of the things that they were telling me on the screen, but what really scared me is I said, my kids are older. They're 29 and 22. How did I not know this while they were in high school, right? And so I brought the information with me. I do this fentanyl presentation called One Pill Can Kill. Yeah. If somebody wants to host us for it, they can email us at onepill@bear.org, ONEPILL@BEXAR.org. And we'd be more than happy to come out and teach the class. And I normally bring out a couple of special guests with me, some angel moms. Angel mom is the term for a mom that's lost a child to fentanyl. And so myself and this team of angel moms will come out to your organization, your church group, your neighborhood group, whatever, and we will do this presentation, One Pill Can Kill, onepill@bear.org. So we've been doing a lot with regard to that. Still our active shooter training, our lures and lies training regarding human trafficking and everything that we as parents need to know about human trafficking. Spoiler alert, it's cell phones is what the issue is. That's how the traffickers are getting to our kids. And then we're also doing we have an organized crime group that is second to none. They are out there finding folks that would otherwise be killing people if we weren't getting them off the streets. So they're doing great. So again, that with community policing, we're going to just continue to do more of the same.
I mean, just geographically, being the sheriff of Bexar County presents, I would think, unique problems that the sheriffs in other major metropolitan cities don't have to deal with.
Well, look, every city is different. Every county is different. Right now, there's a common theme, I guess, at all the sheriff's conferences that we go to, like especially like here in Texas. At present, every sheriff in the state of Texas is considered a border sheriff. You no longer have to just be on the border. The border has come to us, and so we've got to deal with the issues particular to that. I can tell you right now definitively, and a lot of people may disagree with me on this, but I see it firsthand every day. The undocumented population that's coming through town, that's actually not who's committing crimes here in Bexar County. So people ask me invariably if I go to another state or if they come from their visitors, oh my God, how's it going? Are they committing all kinds of crimes? Is it a bloodbath? No, it's not. That's not. They're not here to commit crimes. They're more likely to become victims of a crime. And so, I mean, obviously, are they all? No, there's some that do get in trouble, and we hold them accountable, absolutely, just like everybody else. But for the most part, these are people that just want to come here and work an honest day's, do an honest day's job and send money back to their family, wherever that may be.
And that was, I mean, you spoke on 60 Minutes about that situation, the border and everything, which is nothing new, obviously. To me, just as a casual observer, and again, having been in the media, it seems like such a gigantic... and he's on call.
Yeah,
I get no.
Right.
You got to take it. You got to take it.
No, it's my good friend Spam Risk.
No, I know that. I know Spam Risk. Spam Risk calls me too. It seems like such a gigantic issue that I don't even know how you can. What am I trying to say? Like get your brain around it, your hands around it, and do you see a positive ending here or something that can be done?
Well, I mean, we just got to continue to fight it with everything that we've got.
Yeah.
So I break my job down into two things when it comes to prevent. We want to prevent crime from happening in the first place, right? Yeah. But the way that we do that is through enforcement, targeted enforcement. So if illegal guns are the problem, or drugs are the problem, or all of the above are the problem, quality of life issues, then target that with specific enforcement to target that problem. On the other side of it, there's a public education aspect to it, right? So perfect example of that. A little while ago, I was talking to a friend that got the scam call. Hey, this is Deputy so-and-so with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. You missed jury duty. You have a warrant for your arrest. Give us your credit card number or we're going to come arrest you. People fall for that, believe it or not.
Of course they do, yeah.
Because it's scary to get a call from, and they even spoof the number sometimes. They'll spoof the number, make it look like they're calling from the sheriff's office. So from the enforcement perspective, we're trying to find out who it is that's making these calls. But from the public education perspective, we've got to tell people, hey, that's a scam. Don't fall for it. Hang up the phone. Even if it looks like it's coming from the sheriff's office, hang up the phone and, know that it's a scam. And if you want to feel better, have a deputy dispatched to your home and take that, have them check for you to make sure you don't have any warrants. But again, there's an enforcement perspective to everything that we do, and there's a public education perspective to everything that we do.
All right. So like you said, you're like an insomniac. You're constantly on. You're on call and everything. But what do you do? Do you have a hobby that might surprise somebody out there, or just like if you're able to turn it off? What does that look like?
So I like to ride my horses. My horses live there at my property. My mounted patrol horses actually are my personal family pets. They live with me, right?
Oh, wow.
So I'll saddle up a horse and go riding through the neighborhood. That's always fun. It's acreage home sites where I live, but still my neighbors are used to seeing the sheriff riding through the neighborhood on horseback, like Gunsmoke. And then, home renovation's a thing that I like to do. I'm always doing home improvements around the house. And so, I tried to take on tiling my whole house. That was too much, so I called a friend that's a contractor, let him do it. But now I'm doing the trim work, right? I'm doing the baseboards and the door frames and all that. So I'm doing that. And my wife and I really like to get out and go antiquing a lot.
Really?
That's fun.
Surely you've come across something you paid $10 for and it's worth 10,000. Like, have you had that experience?
Nothing like that necessarily.
You didn't find a Picasso somewhere?
My thing is I like to collect Old West stuff, and obviously sheriff stuff. So if I ever come
Law
across
enforcement,
anything law
sheriff.
enforcement, sheriff related, I'm going to snatch it up, right?
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to overpay for it as well.
Yeah, that's all right. I see on the Bexar County Sheriff's Office vehicles sometimes, and every time I see it, I have to do a double take because it blows my mind away. And I'm going to mess up the year, but it says something like proudly serving since
1731.
1731.
Yeah.
Like, so we're getting closer to 300.
Yeah.
300. I mean, I just can't. Like, I know we had the tricentennial for the city not so long ago, but does the BCSO have any kind of artifacts or a vault with some
we
stuff
do
from back then?
We do. In our lobby area, we've got a bunch of artifacts and things that, again, some of my deputies have bought at estate sales and things like that. Some were donated by families of deputies or former deputies. But so back to the 1731, we were actually established by the Canary Islanders.
Yeah.
Right there, right in front of San Fernando Cathedral. That's the birthplace of county government, but also the birthplace of the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. The very first Bexar County Sheriff was a guy named Alguacil Vicente Alvarez Travieso. And I'm only the 34th person in line since him to hold this office.
34th.
Yeah.
No, I remember, I think was it Father Carlos Velasquez told me or something that back in those days when the Canary Islanders were here, they built the cathedral, and that it was very on purpose the way it was laid out, and where law enforcement and kind of how the city was laid out.
Yeah.
From that area.
That's literally the heart of the city and of county government, for sure. So it's nothing. We don't take it lightly. We celebrate the birthday of the sheriff's office every year in March. This past year, we invited the Canary Islanders to come out to that event. We cut a big cake. We had the oldest deputy and the youngest deputy at the sheriff's office, and they cut the cake with a ceremonial sword, and we had a birthday party for the sheriff's office. Man, 289 years, I think, is where we are now.
Man, so would you expect to be around for the 300th anniversary?
If the voters will continue to have me, yes.
But I ask that because, of course, you want to be reelected. But you're 30 years in, you said.
Yeah.
So what is it, 11 years from now, 40 plus years in, if you're healthy and everything, I mean, so retirement is not like right around the corner.
Let me dispel a couple of rumors there. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't plan to run for higher office. I don't want to be a governor. I don't want to be a senator. I want to be the sheriff of Bexar County. I'm playing in my Super Bowl right now. So just let me enjoy my moment, man. People want to say, oh, he's got his eyes on higher office. No, I don't, actually. I'm kind of happy where I am. I love it here. And so, yeah, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm only 52. Which to some of the people watching your podcast may seem ancient, but if I walk around all the other Texas sheriffs, I'm actually a spring chicken compared to some of my counterparts in other.
I'm not that far behind you. I'm not that far behind you. It's the new 42, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what I hear.
What do you tell young people who might be watching this who are considering a career in law enforcement and think, man, it's a heavy job. It's a heavy job, and they don't know if it's right for them.
So I say this a lot to my cadets on day one. I always have a face-to-face sit down with my cadet classes on day one, and I ask them, by show of hands, guys, who in here has had a conversation similar to this with a family member? Oh my gosh, why are you becoming a cop? Everybody hates cops. Why are you going to do this? Blah, blah, blah. About half the hands go up. And I say, you know what? I'm happy to tell you guys, you can go back to your family member and tell them they are wrong about Bexar County. In other parts of the country, sheriffs and chiefs are probably having a different conversation with their cadets. Here, we're relatively well liked and well respected by the community that we serve, with a few exceptions, with a few loudmouths on social media. But no offense.
No. I mean, we've all had them.
But for the most part, we have a good relationship with the community that we serve. Why? Because law enforcement leaders like myself, like Bill McManus, the area police chiefs, we work hard to maintain that relationship with the community that we serve.
Right.
And so it's reflected in the way that they react to our officers and our deputies. And so I say that to say that if you're considering a career in law enforcement, do it. Go for it.
But as social media did not exist when you began your law enforcement career, so you've watched it evolve over the years. How long did it take you to, when people were critical of you, and continue to be in some cases, I mean, let's just be honest, how long did it take you to not let that get to you or handle it the way you currently handle it?
So you got to have a thick skin, right? But you got to have a thick skin in law enforcement anyway, right? I've been doing this for 30 years, and you're right. There's a lot of things that didn't exist when I started, when I was a young buck. But I've actually had the pleasure of seeing law enforcement and social media evolve together. Here's a claim to fame. A lot of people don't know that I'm the one that introduced the SAPD to Facebook back years ago. When I became the PI, was one of the first things that I did was establish their presence on social media. And look at it, it's grown exponentially. They're one of they have one of the biggest followers among large law enforcement agencies. Yeah. I'm happy to say I played part in that. Yeah. But a lot of that has been done since I left there. But again, now you don't see a law enforcement agency that doesn't have a presence on social media. You have to. It's a must. You absolutely have to if you want to get your side of the story out in some cases. So it's a great thing. But again, that's how we stay connected to the community that we serve, and that's the success. That's the secret to the success of having the community respond well to you is deal with them openly and honestly. Don't hide anything from them. Yeah. And like I told you when we were talking earlier before the interview, ask me anything. I mean, there's really no topic that I'm going to say, oh my God, no comment. Right. You got to deal openly and honestly with it, even if it's stuff you'd rather not be talking about right then and there. If the public wants to hear it, they're going to ask you, and you better have a good answer. Yeah, for better or for worse, at least it makes you more accessible. You've got your coffees with Whataburger and everything, but this is pretty good. Sure. Any final thoughts, sir, before I turn you loose? Because I know you got important work to do today. I'm just going to ask everybody, just remind everybody to, as the holidays are approaching, guys, be extra careful when you're out doing your shopping. Personal safety is a must. Always know what's going on around you. If you're going to do your shopping on Amazon, great. That's a good way to prevent anything from happening. Don't leave valuables in your cars. Yeah. And that part goes for whether you're out shopping here. We're at the quarry right now. So whether you're shopping at one of the shopping malls, even the nice ones, things can happen if you leave valuables in your car. But then the other important thing is even when you're at home at night, when you go home to bed for the night, make sure that you take all the stuff out of your car. Don't leave firearms in cars. That's one of the big ways that the crooks are getting a hold of guns right now is they're burglarizing vehicles. Careless gun owners are leaving the gun under the car. So just prevent crime wherever you can, guys. That's how you can help law enforcement is don't become a statistic, don't become a victim. And there's a lot of things you can do to prevent in the process. Come to one of our Whataburger coffee events, and you'll hear how to prevent being a victim of crime. Well, listen, I think Thanksgiving's like 3 weeks away, so it's on us here, and I really appreciate your time today and everything, and thank you, all the best to you. Yes, all right, Sheriff Javier Salazar, our guest on Pickup Lines, presented by Gamez Law Firm. Off to work he goes, and we'll see you again very soon for another episode right here. Don't be good. Well, that's what I'm trying to say.